Welcome into Giants Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Marshall Green. The rumors surrounding Saquon Barkley and his contract extension as we get closer and closer to that July 17th deadline are starting to heat up. We'll talk about Saquon and everything we know as Bleacher Report has listed him as the one player the Giants should trade before the season starts. Then on the tail end of the show, because a lot of people have been DMing me about Dalvin Cook. Should the Giants trade Saquon and go out and sign Dalvin Cook? We're going to talk about it on today's show, but let's start with number 26, the Giants' current running back that does not have a contract with their team. An important date to monitor is July 17th. That is a deadline the Giants have and Saquon have to get a long-term extension done. If July 18th rolls around and no extension is done, Barkley is going to have to play on the $10 million tag for this upcoming season. So you could see some motivation from both sides to get a deal done here in the upcoming weeks. And I do think a deal gets done. I think Saquon Barkley wants to be a Giant, and I think the Giants want Saquon Barkley to be a Giant. And it makes sense for both sides. Saquon's a good player. He deserves his money. The Giants, they need a good running back. And Saquon has been a captain and a leader and a face of this organization since he was that number 2 pick in the NFL draft. But I do know this. A good business is run by smart people. And smart people explore absolutely everything. And as Joe Shane loves to say, we have contingency plans. And if a long-term deal does not get done between the Giants and Saquon Barkley, and maybe you start to not be able to mend those relationships, and Saquon wants to only play on the tag and then test free agency next season, you need to explore a trade, because that's what you do. You explore everything. If a long-term deal does not get done, I would not be surprised if the Giants start to explore the trade market, because every player has a price. And let's say the Buffalo Bills or the Kansas City Chiefs call up Joe Shane and say, hey, yo, Joe, we'll give you a second-round pick for Saquon Barkley. You got to at least listen, right? Would I trade him for a second? Maybe, but I would listen, and I would think, is it worth it? Because, once again, running backs have short shelf lives. We know that. Everything in the NFL tells you that running backs do not last a long time. And it doesn't seem like Saquon Barkley is coming down on his price of what it's going to take to ink a long-term deal. Somewhat of a timeline with Barkley during the season. These are all reports. These are all alleged. No written in fact stones. But according to reports, during the season, Barkley turned down a deal that would have paid him $12.5 million per season. Then after the season, the Giants upped their offer to $13 million. And reportedly, he rejected that. And also, they reportedly got a deal rejected by Saquon before they placed the franchise tag on him for $14 million. And where does that stack up? Where does 12.5, 13, and 14 stack up? It'd make you the third highest paid running back in the National Football League. Look at what Dalvin Cook was getting paid, $12.6 million. Minnesota said, we don't want to pay our running back that anymore because we've got the great Alexander Mattison and Ty Chandler in the backfield. Think about it like this. Their backup running backs are Alexander Mattison and Ty Chandler, and they didn't want to pay Dalvin Cook. That tells you that teams don't value paying a running back a lot of money. Ezekiel Elliott used to be on this list, and he got cut. And Aaron Jones at 11.5 isn't even the number anymore because he took a $5 million cap hit to stay with the Green Bay Packers. Joe Mixon still might get cut. And the only contract that really has been worth it is McCaffrey because he got traded to a better team, Derrick Henry because he is a freak of nature, and Nick Chubb at 12.2. Look, if Barkley played at 12.2 million, I'd give him a 6-year deal. But at the end of the day, he wants 14, 15, maybe even $16 million. But I don't always think it's the price per year that's holding Saquon Barkley back because we don't know the exact nitty and gritty details with this Barkley dilemma. We don't know how much money that Joe Shane is offering him guaranteed. So I wanted to take a look at the highest paid running backs that got guaranteed money at signing. McCaffrey, number 1 at $30 million. Derrick Henry at 25. And you see Bijan Robinson at number 3. That's why people don't like taking running backs early in the NFL draft. Then you got Alvin Kamara at 21.9 and Nick Chubb at 17. So it's all going to come down to guaranteed money, and Saquon probably wants to get anywhere in between 30 and 25 and a half. Let's say this, though. July 17th comes and goes, and a deal does not get done. Should the New York Giants trade Saquon Barkley if a long-term extension does not get done? I want you to answer that question. Type T for trade or P for pass. I know this. If a deal on July 18th, we're making a video. It's either going to be, woo, Saquon Barkley got a contract extension done, or Saquon Barkley did not get an extension done. So make sure you're subscribed so you are the first person to know whether Saquon Barkley is going to get a deal done or not. And also, become an informed Giants fan. Videos every day on the latest news and rumors. So let's kind of just live in fantasy land for a little bit, all right? Let's say the Giants do not get a long-term deal done with Saquon Barkley. July 18th comes and goes. Saquon now has to play on the franchise tag. Maybe they look to trade him. Is it an idea or a good idea to maybe trade Saquon Barkley and then sign Dalvin Cook? A couple people have asked me, and here's my thoughts. Dalvin Cook is not that guy anymore. He's better than Alexander Madison, no doubt about it. And he's better than Ty Chandler. But, maybe I fell victim to this. You can't always just fall in love and base your decisions off the raw stats. Maybe I've been listening to the freaking Seeps propaganda a little bit too much. But when you look at the numbers, he still looks like an elite back, right? Almost 1,200 yards, 4.4 yards per touch. But it's gone down from 5.1 to 4.7 to 4.4. And the touchdowns have gone down. 13 to, that's up 16, but then 16 to 6, and then it's kind of stayed the same at 8. And you're like, well, Marshall, he's a guy that still averages over 4.5 yards per carry. He got you 1,200 yards, and he hasn't had under 1,200 yards or under 1,100 yards in the past 4 seasons, and he gave you 8 touchdowns. Well, there's this nerd stat out there that comes from Patrick Seaman that it's the rushing yards over expected. And it's not good. I'll tell you that much. It's never good when it's negative. It's not a good thing. It was good this year. And it was good this year. And it was pretty good these years. This isn't good, though. Negative 0.16 rushing yards over expected. Not good. And the Vikings beat reporter that works for ESPN, I thought he illustrated a really good point here. He said Dalvin Cook led the NFL with 62 carries that either lost or did not gain a yard. And as ESPN's Bill Barnwell noted, only 34.5% of his carries gained a positive total yards over expectation in Next Gen Stats model. The second lowest rate among running backs with at least 200 carries in 2022. In other words, Cook was Cook and was less consistent in 2022 than he ever has been. Still a good player, but do the Giants need another running back? Do they need to allocate any more resources to this running back position? I like Matt Breida, and I love Eric Gray. I even like the way Gary Brightwell runs the ball hard. Had that touchdown against the Green Bay Packers at the goal line. And I like the young buck, Jashaun Corbin, the UDFA 2 years ago or last year out of Florida State. I don't want to sign Dalvin Cook. Even if the Giants trade Saquon Barkley, let me see what Eric Gray's got. I remember when he got drafted, I said it a couple times in the video, and you guys commented. I said, I like the pick, but I don't love the pick. And the more I watch the film, the more I love this guy. He is an explosive runner, doesn't have the top-end speed, but man, he is shifty. He can get in and out of his cuts. He makes people miss in the open field. He's got that dead leg cut that a lot of these top running backs have, and he's a versatile back as well. He's got great hands. He can use them as a weapon out of the backfield. I want to see what Eric Gray has, and I want to see him get the football, and I can't wait to watch the preseason to see what he can bring. Also, I don't think you would need to allocate any more resources to the running back position. You already have Saquon Barkley, who you're going to keep. But if you were, for the sake of this conversation, trade him, you re-sign Matt Breida. You drafted Eric Gray in the 5th round. You drafted Gary Brightwell in the 5th round a couple of years ago. I don't need the Giants to go out and sign Dalvin Cook, but maybe you think they should. Maybe you think they need to add Dalvin Cook to this roster. This is your chance to let me know. Type S for sign, type P for pass on if you think the Giants should sign Dalvin Cook. As always, I appreciate you guys. I want to say just thank you for tuning in to New York Giants. Now, wouldn't be able to do what we do every single day if we didn't have the best damn fans in the world. So we appreciate it. Hope you guys have a good weekend, and we'll see you later.